Hi, today I'm going to explain how you can start from a local APB repo and get to a published GitHub repo that is doing integration tests per pull request using the service catalog and the ansible-service-broker running on top of a cluster. So to explain what I mean by integration tests, I'm going to show a diagram. In this diagram, I am going to go walk through each of the pieces in this process. So starting from the bottom left with the user and creating a pull request to a GitHub repo. What's going to happen is when a user creates this pull request, you're going to have a CI engine that is going to process the pull request, and it's going to provide a CI or a set of infrastructure for you to do testing on. So for this example, I'm going to use Travis, but you can actually use anything. You can use Jenkins, as long as you're able to plug into the pull request workflow from Git and spawn a virtual machine to do testing on. This will work for you just fine. So on the second half of this diagram, there are a few other pieces here. First thing we're going to need is we're going to need a cluster, so either Kubernetes or OpenShift. Or if you want a VM for each, you can do that too, and do 2 different tests in parallel on each cluster. And then on each cluster, we're going to spawn a service catalog and an Ansible service broker instance. From there, we're going to run through a series of tests on your APB, where you're going to specify as the developer the workflow that you want to use, using the series of APIs that the Ansible Service Broker and the Service Catalog provide. So the main thing you need to worry about from this side of the integration testing is that the community actually has a way to provide the infrastructure on top of the virtual machine for your integration tests. The remaining work that the developer has to do is actually just interface with the APIs to pick the tests that you want to run. So it's fairly simple. It's something that is consumable for a developer, and it's reasonable to ask for them to pick what tests they want to run. To start off, I have a local APB repo. I'm going to need to create a GitHub repo and actually push this code, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to create a new repository. I'm going to call it my demo APB, and we're going to attach this repo to it. Okay, so we're going to do our first commit to this repo. Alright, so we're pushing that first commit. Alright, so this is to give them a little more explanation of what I have here locally, is I actually have a playbook that I've written out. It's going to spawn a media wiki page. This is just to demonstrate whatever you have locally, you can do the exact same thing. And this is just the starting point. So I push that code. My next step, now that I refresh my GitHub page, I should see my pull request has landed, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to travis-ci.org, and I'm going to set up a Travis job to run when I create a pull request to this repo. Okay, so to sign into Travis, you're going to use your Git account, and your Git account will link to this so that all your repos will show up when you actually go to the top right and you hit profile. Okay, so now we're loading the profile, and the next thing we're going to do, I'm going to run sync account just to make sure I pick up that Git repo that I just created. Okay, there it is. Okay, so the repo I just created, the only thing I need to do to turn on Travis CI like it says in the instructions here. Just need to tap the box and it'll enable it. So the next step, which is actually number 2 right here, is to add a .travis.yaml file to your repository. So we're going to do this as part of a pull request, so that the CI job runs as part of that pull request. So to do this is the part where the service broker community actually provides a lot of this. So to find this, it's in a repo called service-broker-ci. It's actually in my personal repo, so rt-service-broker-ci. From there, we're going to go to the README. First step, we're going to start downloading some files. The first file is the .travis.yaml that I was talking about. So we're going to curl that, and we're going to just peek at it real quick. Very, very brief overview of what this is. There are 2 jobs here. The top one is going to be OpenShift. It's going to set up an OpenShift cluster, and it's going to run through the CI job that you choose on an OpenShift, or that you designed for on top of OpenShift. And the second one is going to be on Kubernetes. Okay, the second file we need is going to be this one. It's called travis.go. This is the only reason we need this is because we want to use Travis to actually set up the Go environment for us. So we need a file that can be compiled by the Go compiler locally in this repo. So we just need a blank file. Let's just call it travis.go. It just doesn't do anything, but it just sits in that repo. And then lastly, our interface that the developer is going to interact with. This is going to be what the developer is going to use in order to design their CI job. So a lot of this is documentation, and right here at the top is actually an example of a multi-APB integration test. So I mentioned earlier that my APB that I created is MediaWiki. Part of testing MediaWiki is that you have a database that's backing it to provide from information to fill out fields for my wiki page. So if I create MediaWiki standalone, I can test, that it created successfully. But if I want to do more robust testing with multiple APBs, then I'm going to require an additional one. So here's an example of how I can use multiple APBs, where all I need to do this is to use one of the APIs, which I have listed up here, and I reference a GitHub location. So to define what this means right here, this address ansible-service-broker /postgres APB, I have a note down here on how to use the API calls. And if you look right here, when I reference the name Ansible Playbook Bundle MediaWiki APB, what that actually is referring to is a GitHub repo with the repo organization being Ansible Playbook Bundle and the repo name being MediaWiki APB. And what the file it's going to find in there is it's going to go into the directory templates in that repo, and it's going to look for a file with the name MediaWiki APB. So it's going to have, so what it expects is that the repo is going to have a file in templates with the exact same name with a .yaml extension, and that is going to be the service instance template. So we can see it right here. So here's our service instance template from MediaWiki. So you can, this is going to be ditto for the for Postgres. So I can even look up the same thing for Postgres. So I'll go to here, go to the templates, and this is the Postgres service instance, I'm going to call when I reference this. So as an APB developer, if I just want a database for my integration testing, the power in this is that I just need a call like this. I need a one line like this, provision that database, and it will give me what I need. If I need to tweak any of the parameters, let's say I want to change the password, or I want to change the user or the version to 9.6. What I can do is I can actually just host a template locally, so I can remove the reference to the GitHub organization. I can just use a name, and when there is no GitHub organization and it's a name, that means that we're actually going to look locally under the directory templates, and we're going to look for that name, postgres.yaml. So I could take this, I could copy it locally, and I could change the version to 9.7, and now I'm in a situation where I have a totally different version. So this gives you a lot of flexibility into what you need to do and how you can interact with APIs and how you can use Git and other APBs that people have created in order to build up your integration tests to do all sorts of fancy things. Okay, now we're going to build our integration test for my demo APB. Let's start with provisioning my demo APB, and let's keep the Postgres APB provision around just to show how we can provision that too. Let's get rid of bind, get rid of unbind. Let's also do a deprovision of my demo APB, and we'll leave Postgres there for deprovision. Finally, the verify command. Verify is just it takes whatever you provide here and runs it in a shell, but it also does some of the path completion like the other commands do, and then it will actually go into GitHub and look for a script or whatever it is you insert in here that you want to run, and it will actually run that. If not, it will run the command that you enter if that is not a GitHub valid GitHub address. So we're going to just run kubectl getpods just to show that the apps are running, and we'll see MediaWiki and we'll see Postgres. So the final thing we need is the my demo APB service instance template, and like I highlighted earlier, it's going to be in a local template. It's going to be in the directory templates with the name my demo apb.yaml. So we're going to create that, and we're going to do that with the assistance of the APB tool. The command we're going to use is APB service instance. This is going to generate a file based on the GitHub repo name, so my demo APB, and this is also the exact same name that we expect for the integration job. So we're going to edit that file, and here's our template. We'll probably need to make a few changes in here. Mainly, what we're going to do is we're just going to copy what's already in the MediaWiki template up here on Git. Since that's what we're spawning, we're just going to use that, use those parameters. But whenever you're doing, when you're adding your service instance template, you're going to go in here and change the parameters to whatever makes sense to what you want to test, and fiddle with the names and anything that you want to add. So we're going to close that out, and one last thing is we're going to make the directory templates, and we're going to move my demo APB into that directory. Alright, that all looks good. We're in a branch, so we're going to commit everything and make our PR. That's going to run our integration test. Okay. We'll call our commit message Travis 8. Okay, looks good. And let's publish this. Okay, so we pushed our pull request to that repo. Let's head on over and take a look. Alright, so let's make the pull request. Alright, create pull request. And now we should see Travis picking up that a pull request has happened and starting a job for us that is going to run our integration tests. So this is going to take a few minutes. When we come back, we're going to look at the details of this, and I'm going to show what happened with the job and show a little bit of the logs, and everything should look good. Okay, the Travis job has completed. We're going to look at the details of it. So we're just going to look at one of these jobs. The bottom one is the Kubernetes job. Let's take a look at that one. And we're going to look for our verify action and what the output of that was. Okay, so you can actually see some logs here where we have the action provisioning my demo APB. So there's my APB being run. And we grabbed Postgres. So we actually have two APBs that are running here. And then here's our verify action. So I did a kubectl get pods, and we show that we have MediaWiki and Postgres running. The APB, my demo APB, is a MediaWiki instance, and so you can see that it was provisioned successfully. And the last two actions I had were deprovisioning those two apps, so you can see that right here in the logs, they completed that successfully. Okay, so this concludes the demonstration. Just to briefly recap, I'm going to show the diagram again. So we started from a local APB repo. We added a Travis job that's going to run per pull request. We used the service broker community's scripts to actually spawn the infrastructure for that. Then we used the service broker CI config.yaml interface in order to build our job. We launched two APBs, the one that we created and one that exists in Git, and we ran a little test to make sure they worked, and we deprovisioned that. All that is now going to happen per pull request in my GitHub repo.